Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today's we have lecture on methods for assessment of nutritional status, and this is Dr. Sana Tanzeel. Learning objectives of this session include understanding and discussing the importance of nutritional assessment and various methods of nutritional assessment as well as their specific limitations. Moreover, in this session, we will also apply different or common anthropometric measurement indices for the assessment of nutritional status, particularly BMI, mid upper arm circumference, and Z score for weight and height. Nutritional status of a community is the sum of the nutritional status of individuals who form that community, including the people from all age groups. The major objective of nutritional assessment is to obtain precise information on the prevalence and geographic distribution of nutritional problems in a given community and identification of individual risks of developing nutritional problems like malnutrition or overnutrition in the form of obesity. The purpose of community nutritional assessment is to develop specific interventions to improve overall community's nutritional status. There are various ways of assessing the nutritional status, like we can just calculate or estimate the morbidity related to nutritional health problems, such as the prevalence or proportion of children born with low birth weight, that is less than 2.5 kg, prevalence of anemia among pregnant women in the community, or prevalence of obesity among children from a particular age group, such as under 5 children, or in adolescent age group, or any other specific age group. There are various methods of nutritional assessment. Some methods are direct assessments, while some methods are the indirect methods. For the scope of this lecture, we will discuss more on the direct assessment of nutritional status, which includes methods such as clinical examination, anthropometric measurements, which are the physical measurements, biochemical assessment, and assessment of dietary intake. Clinical examination is again one of the most commonly used method which we apply in clinical settings, like the general physical examination. The objective is to detect relevant clinical signs which can helpful in establishing the nutrition related diagnosis, such as general physical or clinical examination with special attention to organs like hair, angles of mouth, gums, nails, skin, thyroid, tongue, muscle, bones. So the detection of relevant signs helps in establishing the nutritional diagnosis, such as angular stomatitis, Bitot spots, which occurs in vitamin A deficiency, angular stomatitis occurs in vitamin B deficiency, absence of knee jerks, which occurs in again B12 deficiency, enlargement of thyroid gland, which occurs due to iodine deficiency, which is also known as endemic goiter. However, there are certain limitations to each method. Likewise, the clinical examination actually lacks non-specific signs, have non-specific signs, because there are certain signs which are common in more than one kind of illness, or malnutrition cannot be quantified on the basis of these signs. Like you can may be able to tell that there is anemia, but how severe the anemia could be, what could be the level of hemoglobin, that cannot be assessed by just looking at the palms or the conjunctiva of the patient suffering from anemia. So you need lab test for that. Likewise, Bitot spots tell you that the person might have vitamin A deficiency, but how severe the deficiency is, you cannot tell that by just looking at the Bitot spots. Likewise, in this picture, if you see angular stomatitis, it may occur in vitamin B deficiency, or it may also occur in folic acid deficiency. Goiter occurs in iodine deficiency. Anthropometric measurements is another method which include physical measurements or the bodily measurements, such as height measurement, weight measurement, mid upper arm circumference measurement, head circumference measurement, waist to hip ratio, and skin fold thickness, and much more than that. However, these physical measurements basically reflects the pattern of growth, development, and nutritional status over a period of time, and which are also the essential part of clinical examination in infant children and pregnant women, even from the person of any age group, including elderly or man. Limitation which actually hampers its utility is that that you cannot differentiate. That's the only limitation actually, but still it's a widely used method, that You cannot differentiate between chronic and acute malnutrition, although it's possible by looking at the height in children, but not for all age groups. So that's the these two pictures are actually showing two different methods. The first picture showing a white instrument is the basically skin thickness, skin caliper, which measures the skin fold thickness and used to assess the malnutrition, while the mid upper arm circumference, which is shown in the other picture, is the specific tape which uses to measure the circumference of the mid upper arm, and it is again a very commonly used anthropometric measure to assess the malnutrition in communities. Mid upper arm circumference is the circumference of the left upper and arm measured at the midpoint between the tip of the shoulder and the tip of the elbow using a measuring tape or a mid upper arm circumference tape. It can be any usual inch tape which is present at our homes or at the tailor shop, or usually easily available at any shop in the market. It is basically a proxy measure or indicator of nutrient reserves in muscle and fat, those are that are unaffected by pregnancy and independent of the height of the person. So this is one strength of this measurement, that it is not affected by pregnancy, or it is not affected by the height of the person. Using mid upper arm circumference to measure all pregnant women up to 6 months postpartum is basically preferred method, because BMI cannot be used in pregnant lady due to increased water content in the body. Mid upper arm circumference is also an appropriate alternate for measuring children. Instead of weight for height Z-score, adolescents instead of BMI for age, and non-pregnant postpartum adults whose weight and height cannot be measured if they cannot stand or no equipment is available, or suppose if some person is disabled and cannot stand. And it is currently not recommended for infants under 6 months of age and should not be used to assess nutritional status in people with edema. This slide is showing the mid upper arm circumference cutoffs for children 6 months to 14 years, and then for adults, that is 14 years plus and above. So you can see this mid upper arm circumference is not used for children less than 6 months or infants less than 6 months, but it can be used for all other age groups. However, the cutoffs for the children and adults are very different, and you can use this cutoffs in millimeter or can be converted and can be used them in centimeter, like 115 millimeter is equal to 11.5 centimeter. In children below 6 months of age, head circumference is one of the commonest measure used to assess the nutritional status and the growth of those children. BMI or body mass index is an anthropometric indicator based on weight to height ratio. BMI is not an accurate indicator of nutritional status in pregnant women or adults with edema, because their weight is not the right predictor of their nutritional status. However, the formula for calculating BMI for any person is very simple. It's just equal to weight in kg divided by height in meter square. And you will have to convert measurements in centimeter to meter, or as you know, 100 centimeter is equal to 1 meter. This slide is showing the nutritional status of assessment of nutritional status using BMI, and two criteria are given by WHO. WHO criteria BMI cutoff basically it reflects the criteria for general population, while there is a different criteria which has more stringent and precise cutoffs for the Asian population like us, because of their increased genetic predisposition to develop the non-communicable diseases. So if you can appreciate, the both criterias are different. Likewise, the normal BMI is just ending at 24.9 for the general population, general world, but for Asians is just 22.9. Any person 23 above will be labeled as overweight in Asians, but if they belong to any other race, they will be considered normal till 24.9. Likewise, it is different for other categories of BMI. Human growth is a phenomenon particular to pediatric age group, which refers to increase in the physical size and the bodily functions or development to increase in skills and functions. So growth and development also include intellectual, emotional, and social aspects as well. Optimum nutrition is a prerequisite for normal growth and development. If a child is suffering from malnutrition, so the child would not be able to achieve the optimum mental and physical capabilities. The goal of early nutrition is to ensure survival and the achievement of one's full potential for growth and development. Growth monitoring is a continuous monitoring of growth in children indicates nutritional status of the child. Aim is to identify slowing or faltering of the growth at the individual level and thus to help to correct the problem promptly so it cannot affect the child's health for long. Growth monitoring can either be conducted by health professionals or the trained persons, healthcare workers like at maternal and child health clinics like nurses or doctors or paramedics, while trained members, which can be or cannot be healthcare workers, can also just go and monitor the new growth of the children in the community, like LHWs are one example. A child with normal growth can be described as the one whose characteristics fall within the range of measurement accepted as normal for majority of children in the same age group or the reference population. The limits for normal variation are assumed to include two standard deviation above and below mean for a parameter in reference group. So this criteria is actually again evidence based and described by WHO. Growth monitoring can be done at clinics and at homes with minimal skills and equipments. Various factors which can affect the growth of children include nutrition, gender, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, and health status. Child growth indicators, which are actually suggested by WHO, include a long list, and the most common indicators are length to height for age, weight for height, body mass index, that is BMI, triceps skin fold thickness for age, motor development milestones, head circumference for age, upper arm circumference for age. Not it is not mid upper arm, but it's up arm circumference for age and chest circumference. Growth can be assessed using different parameters like use of reference standards for height, weight, head, and chest circumference, where median value is used as the reference. A variation of two standard deviation from either side of the mean, and two standard deviation or 2 points above the mean or 2 points below the mean or median is considered within normal limits. However, if it's go more than two, that differs more than 2 points from the median, then it will be considered abnormal. Likewise, percentiles are used, which refers to percentage of individuals falling below percentile. By definition, 3% of the children are below third percentile, 3% of children are above the 97th percentile, and remaining 94% are within normal limits. It means the initial 3% and the 3% above are actually those who are not normal. Weight for height and weight for length are actually used commonly for children growth. Weight for height tells the acute malnutrition, while the weight for length, which is also known as stunting, helps in describing the long-term malnutrition or the failure to thrive for vertical growth, that is stunting. To follow the track the growth of a child, we can use growth chart, which is a public health, or you can say the public health tool, which actually helps in graphically draw the physical measurements of a child on a pre-designed graph or chart, and it helps in growth monitoring of children. It can be also used as a diagnostic tool to identify children at high risk of malnutrition, so they can identify early and can be treated. It also helps in planning and policy making for child health intervention in a community. It is an educational tool because you can convince mother about the child nutrition and diet while showing her the growth chart. Can be used as an evaluation tool just to evaluate whether the certain interventions or efforts done for the community are effective or not. There are two This slide is very important, and it is showing Z scores, weight for height at one side, and the classification of nutritional status on the basis of BMI. As we know, for the children, BMI cannot be measured, so we refer the Z scores on the place of BMI. And if you see for severe malnutrition, there is a cutoff. If you have a Z score of weight for height of between less than -3, it means more than -3, like -3.5, -3.1, the child is severely malnourished. If you have a Z score which is less than -2, that is between 2.1, but up till to the -3, like between -2 to -3, it is moderate malnutrition. If a child has a nutritional status between -2 and +2, then the child is having a normal nutritional status. Okay, that is, it may be at least greater than -2 and must be less than or equal to +1 Z score. Then if it is going to be overweight and obese, as likewise if the cutoffs changes. So you just need to know these cutoffs very stringent. Laboratory and biochemical assessment is one of the most appropriate, or you can say the valid method to assess the nutritional deficiency of various nutrients in the body. Like we test hemoglobin levels to identify the anemia. We look for serum vitamin D levels, or serum folic acid levels, or B12 levels to identify their deficiency. But it is while it offers very precise assessment, these methods are expensive and invasive. Like you need to prick someone, so it is invasive and you have to pay a good amount of cost, and some of these tests are really expensive for a common man. So these are, and then you have to wait and give the time for the lab to diagnose what you are going to have on the basis of your results. Assessment of food consumption or dietary intake is another method in which you assess the food consumption, and you just observe and take the information on the dietary habits or consumption of different kind of foods, or their amount and routine or frequency by a person. So this is a direct assessment of food intake basically, and you inquire about the whole household, how much oil they are consuming, how much food fruits they are consuming, or egg, or whatever kind of food you're interested in. Or you can just look for the individual for food consumption, and you can just conduct surveys. It helps in identify possible dietary deficiencies on the population level or the individual level. However, this requires a lot of time for interviews or to collect the information, and specific skills and trainings to correct the quality information. However, there are various challenges of nutritional assessment at large, like there are non-specificity of symptoms or like in clinical assessment method, or overlapping of nutritional deficiencies again in the physical assessment or clinical assessment method. Bias of observer can occur even in the anthropometric measurement, in clinical assessment, as well as even in the dietary assessment, or you can say sometimes even in laboratory assessment. Changing nutritional standards or dietary guidelines over the time also pose a great challenge. Like if the guidelines are changing, then the whole status of the population needs to be revised. Thank you very much.